Having just completed The Last of Us Part 2 for a second time and grabbed what was a surprisingly attainable platinum trophy, I don't feel I'm done talking about the game just yet. There's an argument to be made that the highest praise we can give Neil Druckmann and his team at Naughty Dog is how well they write characters. Having played through the original game multiple times as well, I believe the strength of character development and how they are all written is what drives The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. With that in mind, I want to rank my top 10 favourite characters from the franchise. This will be difficult as I love every one of them, so don't get angry and at me if your favourite isn't there. Just a warning, there will be full spoilers for both The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2 in this list. You have been warned.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
What's the other option?
Go back to Tommy's. Just be done with this whole damn thing.
Number 10, Henry. I didn't want to lump in Sam and Henry together here because I felt it wouldn't be fair to either character. So having to pick which one snuck in at number 10 was not easy. I went with Henry purely because I believe people can relate to him. As an older brother who essentially plays a father figure to the younger Sam, Henry's story of trying to do whatever he can to keep his little brother safe in this world is a story we can all get on board with. The fact it comes to such a tragic end only cements both Henry and Sam as two iconic Last of Us characters who I'll never forget.
You're just gonna drag him across the country to find him?
I tell you what, how about I worry about my brother, you worry about your girl.
Easy.
Number 9, Tommy. Speaking of little brothers, let's talk about Tommy. Tommy is probably the NPC with the most screen time over the two games, which isn't a surprise given he's Joel's brother. He's also pretty much unkillable, which I think is pretty cool in this world where nobody is safe. He survived Outbreak Day, a giant zombie horde, the wrath of his wife Maria, the whole army of wolves, and being shot in the damn head. What a badass. Like a lot of characters on this list, Tommy has had some truly lovable moments, and some moments that have made me hate him just a little bit. But this is why The Last of Us is so good. Characters feel like real people with real problems and emotions, and Tommy is a great example of that.
I can't say I'd have done different. I'll take it to the grave if I have to.
Number 8, Jessie. Oh Jessie, we hardly knew ya. What makes Jessie stand out from the crowd is just how damn nice he is. I just spoke about how most characters have their ups and down moments, but Jessie feels like the exception to this rule. He cares for his group of friends and will put their safety and well-being before anything else. Something that can't really be said for any other character, other than maybe Owen, more on him later. I just wish we had more time with Jessie, but at least he lives on through his son JJ.
Are you crying? What's that? Are you crying? Am I crying? No, I'm not crying. You're crying.
Number 7, Lev. Lev is arguably Naughty Dog's bravest character to date, and I love him. You could also refer to him as Abby's heart, as his journey intertwining with hers was the turning point for me in making Abby such a lovable protagonist. His story as a transgender character defying what the religious fanatic Seraphites expect of him is something I'll never be able to relate to, but without a doubt tugs on my heartstrings nonetheless. He's an awesome mixture of brave, deadly and lovable, and his inclusion to the series is an important one and a story that needed telling in video games. Even if it did make a load of pathetic transphobic assholes cry and review bomb the game. The same game, by the way, that went on to be the fastest selling PS4 exclusive of all time. So that totally worked out for those people. My only issue with Lev is that we didn't get enough. They left me wanting more and wanting to see him grow up in this world. Fingers crossed for a part 3 then.
When he explained to me how he felt inside, I told him he had to keep it to himself.
Number 6, Deena. I feel as if Deena represents the player in The Last of Us Part 2. She starts off on Ellie's side, completely on board with going out and getting revenge for what happened to Joel. Then the chase for Abby intensifies, and Ellie slowly starts to unravel and lose herself to her anger. Deena grows worried. It took getting her pregnant face smashed in by Abby for Deena, and the player, to realise that this revenge mission just isn't worth it, and that the life that both Ellie and herself can lead with little JJ is far more important than an eye for an eye. So when Tommy turns up at the couple's beautiful farmhouse to convince Ellie to once again go get revenge, both me as the player and Deena all but cut ties with Ellie, knowing that she's making a horrible mistake and throwing away the best thing that's ever happened to her. I'm not sure if we'll ever get a follow-up to The Last of Us Part 2, but I pray we do, just so I can find out if the two ever made up.
You should have kissed me then. I wanted to.
Me too.
Number 5, Riley. Without Riley, there's no Ellie and no Last of Us story. Simple as that. It's Riley's decision to take Ellie out on that fateful night that starts this incredible chain of events. Playing Left Behind gave us an insight to Ellie's character that the majority of Part 1 was just not able to do. Taking away the constant dangers of Joel and Ellie's mission and showing us her relationship with Riley as two young ladies who just want to try find some sort of joy in this dark world was an amazing change of pace. Playing Left Behind and watching this beautiful relationship play out just made me care for Ellie even more than I did before, and made me incredibly sad that Riley was snatched away from us so soon. No matter what happens in Ellie's life, Riley will always be a major part of who she is, and I love that.
Let's just wait it out. You know, we can be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
Number 4, Owen. Much like Jessie, Owen is one of the few genuine good guys in this story. He also plays a similar role to Abby as Deena does to Ellie. He understands the revenge mission that she goes on and why she has to do it, even though he doesn't see the point, as all he wants is for Abby and his friends to be safe. In fact, all he wants is peace and safety for these people. He doesn't care about the WLF's war with the Seraphites or personal grudges. He doesn't want this life in Seattle. Being a former Firefly and getting his backstory with the group paints them in an entirely new light. No pun intended. And when he drops the line, maybe we just stopped looking for the light, it nearly broke me. The fact that Ellie and Abby's unstoppable thirst for revenge is what got Owen killed is a real gut wrencher, because he's one of the few characters in this story who truly deserve to live. Same goes for Mal and Alice, by the way.
Must feel nice after me.
Well, under that badass exterior, you can be pretty sweet too.
You have a bad memory.
Selective memory.
Number 3, Joel. I can feel the rage coming through the screen at me right now that Joel doesn't crack the top 2, but trust me, it hurts me too.
You are treading on some mighty thin ice here.
These top 3, and I imagine you've guessed the remaining 2, could genuinely have ended up in any order because I do honestly love them all equally. At the end of the day though, Joel wasn't a good guy, and that's what grabs him the 3rd spot. Joel is, however, a guy we can all relate to, and millions do. He's the ultimate father figure who will do whatever it takes to protect Ellie after losing his own daughter Sarah in the most horrific way imaginable. The actions we as Joel have committed are obviously terrible, but did we ever really stop to question it? Maybe, but we carried on believing it was the right path, which is a credit to the incredible storytelling here. The end of Part 1 never left a great taste in my mouth. I loved how brave and realistic it was, but I was left questioning if Joel did the right thing. Then Part 2 came along and gave us Abby's story, which cements Joel as the villain, at least from her perspective. Tie that in with Ellie finding out the truth about the day in the hospital and the realisation that this man who we all adore has ruined so many lives comes crashing down like a ton of bricks. There's so much more I could get into about Joel, but that would be a whole video in itself. He's not perfect, but he's still Joel, and we all love and miss him.
If somehow the Lord gave me a second chance at that moment, I would do it all over again.
Number 2, Abby. After witnessing Abby murder Joel in the first few hours of part 2, I would never believe for a second that she would manage to become one of my favourite Last of Us characters of all time. And it's a massive credit to the writing, acting, and the game in general that I feel this way. Abby is a complex character who has a lot of issues, but dig beneath the surface and you'll find a woman who is kind, protective, and not all unlike the person who tops this list. When we first meet her, she's turned herself into a jacked up killer machine with the sole purpose of avenging her father, who was murdered by Joel when trying to create a cure by sacrificing Ellie. However, when we get the flashback to her before she lost her father, she's a somewhat dorky, clumsy, and innocent young girl. It's only Joel's entry into her life that turns her into the supposed villain. When we take control of Abby for the second half of the game, we're treated to her story of redemption. She's already travelled the path that Ellie is on in the first half, and it's not erased her grief. Killing Joel didn't solve anything for Abby. She's still haunted by nightmares of that surgery room in the hospital, much like Ellie would still be haunted by her nightmares of Joel's death if she had have killed Abby. Abby's relationship with the likes of Owen, Manny, Lev, and Yara shows that she's a good person with good intentions. Again, she's no different to Ellie or Joel when it comes to wanting to avenge loved ones and protect the ones that are still with her. Much like Owen, she's not a wolf at heart, she's a firefly, and she shows this with her amazing relationship with Seraphites Yara and Lev. The moment when Abby turns to Lev and says, "You're my people," was one of the standout moments for me and helped solidify Abby as one of my favourite characters of all time.
If it was me, I'd want you to do the surgery.
I need to quickly cover some honourable mentions before I talk about the number one entry in this list. Bill, Sam, Marlene, Mel, Manny, and Yara were all on this list at some point as I wrestled with who I should include. Just because they aren't there doesn't mean I don't love them. Again, characters are written so well in both games that it says a lot that these amazing characters didn't make the list. Anyway, on to number 1. Number 1, Ellie. Of course Ellie was going to get the number 1 spot. How could she not? I'm sure I'm not alone in feeling that I've been on one hell of a journey with this girl and been there to witness her grow into a strong, young, badass woman. Ellie's story is one of loss, tragedy, hope and revenge, and hopefully redemption. She's the centerpiece of this massive story, and that is obvious with how often she's been mentioned in almost every entry before this. Having been on this epic journey with Ellie over the years, it's difficult to know where to start. I just don't have the time to cover her early years of self-discovery with Riley, or her father-daughter relationship with Joel in an adventure of up and downs to try find the Fireflies, or her tragic tale of revenge where she not only loses Joel, but also nearly loses herself. Although Ellie's story is undoubtedly a sad one, I do believe it ends with hope. Unlike Abby, Ellie was able to stop herself on the brink of getting the revenge which she thought she craved, realising before it was too late that killing Abby wouldn't bring Joel back and wouldn't heal the pain. The final scene of part 2 clearly shows that she's going to try and move on from Joel. I also hope this means that she's forgiven him too. And hopefully, that means getting her life back on track with Deena and JJ. Her decision to spare Abby also meant survival for her and Lev, which leaves the door open for their story too. Ellie is truly the heart and soul of The Last of Us, and if we've seen the end of her story, then it's been an amazing ride, and one which I can't fault.
I don't think I can ever forgive you for that. But I would like to try.
Thank you for watching. Did you agree with this top 10 list? Probably not, people usually don't, but I want to see your top 10s in the comments below. Also, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that subscribe and that like button, and head over to respawning.co.uk for all the latest written news and reviews. Once again, I've been Mikey, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.